They give all diligence to look nice outwardly. But they don't do all diligence. They don't give all diligence. They don't do their best to work on the spiritual person. They don't. They are too lazy for God. And they are too busy for themselves. To work on themselves. You know, the Bible says, the book of Hebrews, chapter 5, verse 11. Hebrews 5:11. Paul is speaking. I believe he's the writer of Hebrews. But chapter 5, verse 11 says, of whom, speaking of Melchizedek, who was a type of Jesus Christ, of whom we have many things to say and hard to be uttered. Why? Seeing you are dull of hearing. And now, that word dull simply means lazy. You are lazy of hearing. In other words, you are so slothful. It is very hard for you to understand the things that I would speak to you concerning this man. Though I would like to say a lot of things about this man, I can't even, because you are dull of hearing. Now, this problem did not start with, has not started the laziness, spiritual laziness, and it has not started with our generation, Gospel Light Baptist Church. It was there. Now, it does not condone it. It is condemned. The believers the Hebrew believers were dull of hearing. Peter is exhorting the believers that he's writing to. He says, if these things be in you, they shall make you not to be what? Barren. So it has not started today. But it is still bad. It's very bad. God hates it. He says, you are dull of hearing. And then he says, verse 12, for the time you ought to be teachers, you should be mature now at this time. You should have reached that level of being teachers. You have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God. And then he says, verse 12, when the time, verse 13, let me see, the oracles of God, and are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. Now verse 13, for everyone that uses milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a what? He's a baby. He's young. And then he says, verse 14, but strong meat belongeth to them that are full of age, that are of full age, even those who by reason of use, in other words, when they exercise what they have received, who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. They do that exercise. When they receive what they receive, they put it into practice. They exercise it. They have exercised their senses. Look at 1 Timothy chapter 4. 1 Timothy chapter 4. Speaking of spiritual laziness, the Bible doesn't teach us to be lazy. Either physically or spiritually. 1 Timothy chapter 4, look at verse 7 and 8. The Bible says, but refuse profane and old wives' fables, and exercise thyself rather unto what? Godliness. For bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness, in other words, exercising ourselves unto godliness, which he has said in verse 7, godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that now is, that is this present life, and not only this present life, and of that which is to come. In other words, when we live a godly life, there is a promise that God can reward us in this present life, not only now, but also in the life to come. Now, I want you to consider the time that people put in exercising themselves physically. Consider the time. Consider the effort. Consider the diligence. And they are exercising for that, or to get a crown that actually fades. How much more should we exercise ourselves spiritually unto godliness? But on the other side, we are too lazy. He says that godliness, it has a twofold promise. A twofold promise. Number one, of the life that now is present, and of that which is to come. That is, there is a reward that God can reward us presently, and also God will reward us in the future. However, we are so lazy. The Bible says we should give all diligence. Number two, the causes of spiritual barrenness. Number two, not only spiritual laziness, but also sensual lusts. Sensual lusts. Look at verse number 4 of 1 Peter. Of 2 Peter. 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 4 and 5. The Bible